Hello, everyone. Welcome to Translations Part 1, hosted by the third line of the Imperial Sovereign Court of All Connecticut. I'm Bryce. I go by he, they. I am non binary transmasculine.
I'm Harper. I'm non-binary. I'm trans feminine as well.
And my name is Amber, and I am AFAB, but two spirits. So he, she, they, it all works for me.
Aiden, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I thought everybody got taken off, so now I know. Sorry about that. So
Okay.
I'm Aiden. I go by he, him, and I'm a man of transgender experience.
So today, what we have in store for you, can everyone hear? All right,
Yes.
Chantal, can you hear us? Because I saw that you commented that you can't hear. If you can hear, let us know. Technical difficulties, it's fine. You can hear Kate. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, good. Awesome. All right. So, again, this is the third line's translations. What we do is we're going to have performances and panels. There's going to be three parts. The first part is today, obviously. And at the end of the show, we'll tell you when the next ones will be. But our beneficiary this year for translations 2021 is Connecticut Trans Advocacy Coalition. And Aiden, would you like to go over about what CTAC is?
Sure. CTAC is a great organization. We do a lot of work for legislative measures for transgender peoples, especially within the state of Connecticut. Lots of good measures that way. We have an awesome all-day workshop, typically held at UConn Medical School in Farmington. Last year it was on Zoom. Hopefully this year, fingers crossed, we have it scheduled to be in person again. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Awesome day. We get together, we have breakout sessions about what it is to be transgender, all the different things from legal to medical to personal relationships, everything. Um, and then there is typically a keynote speaker that typically ends the day. It's a really awesome day. And then we're coming up with new ideas as an organization, and there'll be more to follow. But look out for our workshops in April.
Yeah. And if you didn't know, Aiden is also part of CTAC, which is why he was using the we in it.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we also want to tell you, if you aren't aware of who we are the Imperial Sovereign Court of All Connecticut. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that donates proceeds back to charities who are nonprofits. So anything you donate today, whether it be from performance or from a panel that you just found intriguing or learned something from, goes back to CTAC.
Yeah.
Anything else like that before we start the first part?
No. thank you.
Throughout it, there'll be Venmo link up at the bottom, and consider joining us if you haven't. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Thanks for
So
tuning in.
yeah, thank you for joining. We love having people. It's always awesome, but it's awesome to get widespread feed from people from East Coast to West Coast, Canada, U.S., Mexico, all over just to join.
Yeah.
We'll explain more about the court after this first performance. It is Kara Daniels, and we want to make sure that we know that we want to feel at home. Everyone feels at home, no matter who you are, and her performance is going to show that. So everyone, Kara Daniels.
When I think of home, with the things of grass, a chance for me to go back, that I have some direction. It sure would be nice to be back home where there's love and affection. And just maybe I can convince time to slow up enough time. Grow up, time be my friend. Let me start again. Suddenly my world's gone and changed its face, but I still know where I'm going. My mind out in space, yet I've watched it growing. And if you're listening, please, I know we should read the things that we see. Tell us, should we try to stay, or should we run away? Or would it be better just to let things be? Living here in this brand new world might be a fantasy, but it's taught me to love. So it's real, real, real to me. And I said, we must look inside our hearts to find a world full of love, like yours, like home.
All right.
So we'll wait till we get it into dual screens. That way we can see everyone. But we noticed it was a little choppy on our end. If you noticed it was a little choppy, let us know. So that way we can try to make sure we give more time to upload anything that's going on. Just in case there's technical difficulties. I don't know if it's coming from you or our side.
Right.
But we appreciate you all coming in and being here.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Kara Daniels, for
Yes.
sending us that video. It was beautiful. It was well done. It'll be on YouTube. So hopefully we'll be able to, this is connecting with YouTube and will be added on for a permanent on our YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll be able to do that then. Copy but good. Thank you, Natasha.
And I'm personally glad I was a little bit choppy because it was a little bit of a tearjerker. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
I'll get you tissues next time.
Damn it.
Beautiful, beautiful dress, beautiful song.
Yes.
It was awesome.
And the meaning behind it was wonderful. It was
Yeah.
just absolutely wonderful. So we're going to talk about the Imperial Sovereign Court a little bit. So for those of you who aren't part of the court, it runs off of a monarchical system, kind of like the British monarchy, but in jest, where we have a level you start off Lord, Lady, or Liege. The third line is Liege, and you can go all the way up to Liege, and you can go all the way up to Princep, Prince, Princess, and I'm Princep, so I'm the highest
Head of the
title
line.
before you get to be Emperor, Empress, or Monarch, which is an elected position. And hi, Bella. Hi, everyone else.
Hello.
We're going to try to interact because we see the comments in the chat.
Yeah.
So if you want to comment, feel free to.
Yeah.
The Venmo for us is at CT Imperial Court. Our PayPal is ctimperialcourt.org/donate. So anything that you're able to give would be wonderful. It's going to a great beneficiary. And our awesome. Yay! Thank you, Tasha. Welcome back. And our next segment is going to be a panel discussion on gender non-conforming, non-binary individuals. You will notice a couple of us here. That isn't it. It's okay. Aiden, you wanted to say something first?
No, I was just saying that it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So that's going to be, don't worry, it is going to be, because they're panels, they're going to be a little longer than videos. They're going to be, just stay with us. It'll be good, we promise. You'll learn some things. You'll learn about the people who talk, and you'll learn about the community in general. So if we are ready for that, hit us with the panel. We're ready.
Hi, and welcome to Translations, where this segment will be discussing gender non-conforming and the non-binary, and anyone that falls into those two umbrellas. Hi, I'm Timmy. I know I'm cheesy. It's just how it's going to happen. Entertaining, good times. So my name is Timmy. I'm also with Imperial's Court of Law, Connecticut, and I have the title of Empress Electra. So yeah, call me whatever you want to call me. And then also on this call, we have to my left.
I am Harper.
And then to my right.
I'm Bryce.
And then to my left on the camera. Oh, right there you go. We have from Rhode Island.
Hello. Well, right now I am just using Complete Destruction as a name because I haven't figured out what else to use yet.
And that's all this is about, is just explaining a little bit about who we are and the lines we kind of represent and the differences, so people have a better understanding of what these terminologies actually mean. So I'm going to start off with Bryce, and he's going to discuss who he is and what he identifies as.
So let me move over closer to you. I'm gonna have the light my way. Here we go. There we go. So I embrace that way. There you go. I identify as a trans masculine non-binary individual. Basically, it means that I don't have to be look androgynous, but I can be my masculine self, and still my personality can be more androgynous or a mix of both, or whatever it wants to be at the time.
So basically, you can be who you are, the way you want to look. Your persona may be a little different, but you still identify as a masculine person, which is amazing. Also, next we're going to go to Harper.
I am Harper again. I identify as trans feminine, non-binary. For me, basically, that means I don't go out wearing makeup every day. I do identify as feminine. I try and dress feminine and appear feminine, but not everything I do is feminine. For instance, I like working on cars. That is something anybody can do, but traditionally, people think of men. So things like that.
Complete.
So, the gender journey has been such a fun thing for me. Overall, non-binary. I have never really subscribed to like society standards of what male or female should look like. I would say I'm probably leaning towards trans femme because there are things that I'm dealing with my body right now that I'm like, okay, it's time to change something because, you know, existing in a flesh suit shouldn't feel like I'm an alien in my own body. You know, no one should feel that way. So kind of a long answer for that one. Sorry.
Unfortunately, at least I can say I understand that feeling.
And my journey is a little different than everybody's journey, because I, for the most part, identify as a cis male, but then I do wear things to work every day, like nails all the time. I love them. I can't not wear them. I do wear feminine clothes sometimes to work and not care. I don't shave unless I have to for when I perform as Elektra, which hopefully isn't all the time because that's a lot of work. But I'm more of a traditional gender nonconforming. I will do whatever I need to do to make sure I'm comfortable, I'm relaxed, but I don't go out and make up 90% of the time. And that's just because I don't want to shave and put it on my face. That's just lazy. But I understand where everyone's coming from. So no one here actually goes out all the time in makeup or anything else. So some of those standards that people have, oh, well, you're non-binary, so I'm going to see you in makeup and wigs and then a guy's suit or something. That is maybe for show, what people do for a number, performance, or when we want to shock someone. But that is not how the typical person goes out to live their life. We live their life however we feel without going by those gender stereotypes that everyone feels we need to put on everyone else. That is, in my opinion, the best definition of who I am. And if anyone says anything different, I don't care. And that's the other good part. We literally are some of the ones who have realized it's about who we are to make us happy. And if it upsets you, we hope to educate you on it, maybe make it better for you. But your opinion about who we are, for the most part, doesn't matter much. But that's just the group, this group, and then like everyone else is different. So there are some people who it will matter to. So we want to make sure that everyone's comfortable and we just respect everyone's identity, period. And that's the basic for the discussion. But some of the questions I wanted to talk to you about were, like for Bryce, when did you feel that you were different? Like that you weren't fitting into the typical role you were born to?
I never felt feminine really. I knew I was female, but I was always the tomboy type. I never really liked dresses growing up because it just didn't fit me the way I was comfortable with. But when I got older, I would use kilts and stuff, and that felt more comfortable for me. My family got into the Scottish Celtic stuff, and I went to Ren fairs and things. But I have to say, when I knew that I wasn't, that I was queer or not not cisgender, was probably the first workshop I went to was called Trans and Pans Go Hand in Hand, and that was at True Colors Conference many years ago, probably about 15 years ago.
Old.
Yeah.
Because I was there.
Yeah. And it helped me understand not only sexuality, but gender identity, and that got the ball kind of rolling in my head. But it wasn't until I was 19 that I actually came out as being under the trans umbrella. So.
Yeah. Harper?
Well, I kind of took the opposite road. Growing up, I felt different from as long as I can remember, but I a lot of times tried to overcompensate and try and be very masculine, and well, that didn't work out very well. It wasn't until I was 34 years old that through drag, actually, I figured out that I, one, am not much of a performer, and two, not cisgender. So I think I told this one, I don't really want to perform, but I think I want to live this way.
Mm-hmm. Way more effort than I had.
But before we go further, I think we should say what cisgender is versus transgender.
Okay.
So cisgender is where what you were born as is how you identify now, and transgender is being under the transgender umbrella can be anywhere from whatever you were born is different than how you identify now, or how your identity or how you are perceived is different than what you were born. So theoretically, drag artists can be under the trans umbrella, gender nonconforming, transgender, transgender people who have used transsexuals in the past, that terminology.
It's a very large umbrella.
Yes, very large umbrella.
If you act, in my opinion, basically, if you feel different than how you were born in any way aspect of what the stereotypes and everything of they say you were supposed to be when you were born, you're under the trans umbrella. Because basically, if you're not meeting those standards of what they thought of back then you're different, then you can be part of the transgender family. That's my opinion. And complete. Your turn.
Well, one, always knew that I was different. Two, didn't help that I'm a massive weirdo and nerd. So like, my childhood consisted of lots and lots of witch costumes. And so I was just like, oh, I'm just dressing up because it's fun. And then I think towards like the middle of high school, I was like, perhaps I prefer to live outside of the realm of what I have been told I am. And I sort of put that on the back burner for a while because I was trying to figure out, like, sexuality wise, like who I was attracted to. And that one was also really fun. It was like, went the whole, am I bisexual? I'm bisexual. Then I'm finding new terms. Pansexual, I like that term better than bisexual, even though both are comparable, but everyone wants to be able to find terms that they like themselves. And so I was focusing more on what I'm attracted to as opposed to what I am inside. And then more recently, I've realized that one of the reasons why I very much enjoy drag is it lets me explore the different ways that I can appear. And much like has been mentioned, it feels comfortable a lot of the time. Like, do I want to, well, right now I'm like, my facial hair is giving me a lot of dysphoria because it's growing in thicker and thicker as time goes on. And that's kind of freaking me out a little bit. But and so makeup used to be a lot easier because I didn't have to shave every 5 minutes.
Amen to that.
And so this is just, it brought up a whole new sort of like, what the hell's going on? What am I? But drag was sort of helped open my mind to, okay, we're definitely not cis. And it's definitely an outlet for me to get rid of some of the angst of existing in a male body for the time being, as I figure out what the next steps might be on what I do, as far as like medical transitioning or just minor cosmetic surgeries. And I'd say that I came out as, I've been saying non-binary for, I want to say like 4 or 5 years now, but I think for the first time I was like, no, I understand that that's under the trans umbrella, but I was like, oh, I am trans. That's a recent thing that I've been able to say out loud. I want to say like the past 2 years.
Congratulations on that. So mine is roughly different because up until I was probably 19, I knew it was gay because there's some guys that are just hot. So I do that, but I never actually even thought about drag. I never thought about doing anything. And then, in college, I had to do, every dorm had to put on get one person in drag of each side, part of the scavenger hunt. And of course, I'm a trooper. So I said, put me in it. Kind of liked it. Then 3 years later, I was at a True Colors conference and I saw one of my first drag queens ever. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then by coincidence, I was moving, and like 8 months later, I ended up moving into the house, and that drag queen I met ended up being one of my roommates.
Oh my
I
gosh.
had no idea it was the same person until like 2 to 3 weeks into living there when I saw them walk out of the room in full on drag. It was like, oh, well, that's cool. And that was in May. And on July 23rd of the same year, so 2.5 months later, I was in drag. And I have been in drag ever since. For that first year, I did it every week. I loved it. The shaving part is the part that gets me. One, when I'm clean shaven, I feel better. But when I do so much drag, I just let it grow because I am lazy. And I know I have to shave it off anyway because I got to be putting makeup and everything else. But I've talked to this one about it, and I'm literally said, if I didn't ever have to shave again, so if I got like trellises or something, I probably would be in makeup way more often. I would probably enjoy living a little bit more or going out more that way. As a person, for me, I am more comfortable in that way with either my sexuality or just my appearance. I have more self-esteem as Electra. So it's, for me, it was a different kind of journey, and I still don't know where it's going. So I don't know what the hell I am. That's why I'm going with gender nonconforming, because at least I know I like certain things all the time, all year long.
Also, I think I feel like it's important to note that the makeup with facial hair thing, just for anyone that watches this, it's a matter of preference. What we're talking about is a matter of preference. It doesn't matter if you have facial hair and you want to wear makeup. You can wear makeup. If you have facial hair, you can wear makeup. If you don't, I feel like that would be important to touch upon, because I know that I've had conversations with people that like want to start doing like non-binary presenting drag, and they're like, oh, but people want me to shave, but you don't have to.
Nope.
Or like people just want to wear makeup to feel pretty. You don't have to shave. It's just, if you feel comfortable, do it.
And I think for me, that's the part that gets me when I put on makeup. I feel better about myself when I shave. So seeing myself in makeup with no facial hair is good for me. And I think that's just me making me feel better about who I am. Whereas I know some performers who are across the country, across the North America, who do drag with facial hair. And I think it's amazing. And one, that's another branch of more confidence in themselves, because they're pulling it up and they're doing an amazing job. They look amazing. For me, I think as a person who doesn't know who I am yet, I think that's why I think I need facial hair shaved off, because I think it's just who I want to be at all times. I really probably would get the surgery or something to have it fully removed at all times. Yeah. Just saying.
No.
Just
Insurance
listed.
might cover it.
Insurance might cover it. I have good insurance.
Yeah.
I really do. It's nice. Work for the
Mine,
job.
mine only covers electrolysis.
Yeah, that hurts. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'll do it, but
laser hurts too.
I know.
I like my facial hair too much. It took me too long to get it in.
Mine took a week.
Have mine, take it, please.
Yes.
Amen. So other questions I want to bring up is just, I know all four of us are doing something different in the way we present ourselves and how we think of ourselves. What do you say to someone who walks up to you and says, like you talked about earlier about, someone who was talking about they want to be put in new drag, but they were told they need to shave. They're kind of curious. What do you actually tell someone who looks at you and says, how do you have the confidence to do what you do? I want to do that one day. We'll start with Complete for this one.
Okay, so I literally say, don't give a fuck what anyone else says. Do what you want to do, because that's been my mantra for as long as I've been comfortable putting on any sort of makeup or wearing any sort of clothing that could be considered feminine, and like leaving my room, because like I wasn't doing drag, but I would still go out in like stereotypically feminine clothing, like I'd walk around Providence with my friends, and it felt nice and comfortable, but it didn't always feel safe. I mean, most of the time it doesn't feel safe because of the state of the world that we live in. But really, the only way that you can find out what and who you are is to experience. So what you have to do is just go for it. And if people are cruel to you, then those people don't deserve to be in your life. And the people that support you are the people that you do deserve to have in your life. And you just kind of, I've always sort of been an outlier in the sense that I've always been branded as like the weird kid, or like the goth one, or the spooky one. And so like I sort of have that to fall back on, where like since I've been othered for so long, I've been able to develop a fuck what anyone else says about that, because that's the only way I can continue on, because I can't change how I am. So might as well embrace who I am and continue evolving and exploring with it. So anyone that comes up to me and says, oh, I'm thinking of trying this, or oh, I want to try, like, not even drag stuff, but like I want to wear more dresses, or I want to wear heels more, or I want to do makeup, or I want to do drag, or I want to do this type of drag or that type of drag, or I want to just present differently. Go gung ho, just start, because it's going to take time to figure yourself out, and you're never quite done. So might as well not put it off.
I don't know if there's much more to add to that. So either one of you two have anything to add?
I've had this conversation with a few people, especially because I work in manufacturing. People ask me how I had the bravery or confidence or whatever to walk onto the shop floor, the first couple times as myself. And, I told them it's not that I wasn't scared, I was terrified. But I think at that point I knew I wasn't going to be able to go back to how I was. And I just took a deep breath and I walked out onto the shop floor, and I, once I was out there, I felt good, confident. And I guess I see confidence like a muscle that you have to exercise it. And I think that's one reason that COVID has been hard on some people, is they're not going out as much. They lose that confidence. And
I guess what I would have to say is just whatever has you feel good about yourself, whether it's accentuating your features, like with me, I do glitter beard to match my clothes because it's just accentuating. Instead of jewelry, I use the glitter beard. For my eyes, I consider myself, I have really nice eyes because it's green. So I just do like some I have Timmy do eye makeup because I'm still learning. So
It's terrible.
I can put fake nails on. I just can't paint my nails because I have carpal tunnel. It's horrible.
Plus, he picks out some ugly ass nail polish, but whatever. Go ahead. Continue.
I'll continue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whatever you feel comfortable with, and because as Harper was saying, as Complete was saying, it's the confidence and it's the feeling your true self that brings forth what you need to do to be your true self, I guess.
Only thing I would add to that for me is I've told people, one, in the court system, the court system for internationally had been around for over 50 years. We're actually about to celebrate 56 years. So it's a really big deal for us. And we were started by a Latino drag queen, who was also in the military, one of the first people to ever run for political office in the United States. And still, the minority community in this court system is still somewhat small, and depending on what part of the state, what state you're coming from, And in Connecticut, when I joined many moons ago, I was one of the first minorities to join the court and stay in the court in a few years. We had someone leave a few years before I joined, and there weren't a lot of minorities. I was there for a good while before someone else joined, and it was hard back then. They're like, "Oh, why are you joining this? It's something different. It's something that you're not used to." Well, because I want to. I want to see what I can get out of it. So I would say that about anyone who wants to perform or do something different and see us with the confidence, whether if you want to do it, and just go for it. Have the confidence. Seems like what Complete said. Fuck it. Do you if you're the first one doing it, then you're the first one. Then you're just gonna go hard and make a big presence, so that way everyone knows, yep, this is me. This is who we are. I am this way, and there's nothing you can do to change it. Because the point of this is, don't change who you are. If anything, if you can't change the world, then you just be present in the world as you. And again, say fuck it. I know I'll probably get yelled at for saying that on the show, but okay. They ain't gonna yell at me now. So the only other thing I would want to say is, because I think we're gonna bring it to a complete conclusion, is basically, I think if everyone wants to say one word of advice for the next generation of first, because there's always going to be a first of something. So some of us are talking about this topic for the first time in public. Some of us have just picked our titles for the first time, or our pronouns, or who we are and everything else in the last year or two. So what would you give to the future generations of firsts of how, I don't know how to say it right, how to make sure that they don't take things so personally and hurt themselves and still be there for the rest of the generations? Because whatever we do as first, we leave an imprint. We leave an idea of how something should be done, how being the first of this should be done. What do you think you can say to them to maybe make them feel they're good enough? Harper.
Don't be afraid to be yourself. Even if you lose people, you will end up gaining other people that are there for you, and you'll make closer connections than you ever had before, because you're your true self, so you can actually connect to people in an honest way.
To be able to verbalize and vocalize your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Because if we're unable to say to ourselves, we're unable to say to others, we're unable to help not only ourselves, but others understand what we're going through.
You can tell he's educated, because that's a good, he used big words there. That's nice. Complete.
I have a couple things to say.
Okay.
That's okay. One, the world changes at a glacial pace, and there are going to be times when outwardly being who you know that you are can be physically unsafe. That is nothing against you. That is not saying that what or who you are is wrong. That is the fear of people not understanding that there is more than their limited worldview. And it will take time to find your chosen family, and time to learn how to verbalize what you're feeling. There was something, oh my God. The queer community has a long and hard history of trauma, and it becomes difficult to navigate if we focus on our fears over how we can overcome them. So I think mindfulness of not only what you're going through, but understanding that there are other people that are, one, just like you, and two, just as afraid. And to go forward with a sense of kindness and presence of mind, to know that not everyone's going to see eye to eye or fully grasp what you're trying to say, but you should go forward just with love. And also, if anyone tells you that what you are, who you are, or how you live is wrong, they're wrong. And if they don't want to listen to what you're saying, then they don't deserve to hear what you're saying because they're not ready. And that's on them.
Nice. And the only way I would say to close it out is I have a friend who always judges themselves because they look different. They're the only one they know that look how they do, how they perform, how they are in the world, how everyone else sees them. And all I see is, when I look at them, is a person who is amazing, setting trends, someone who is maybe ahead of their time, because they do absolute amazing work. They look amazing. And the only thing I can say for that, if you are first in any kind of situation, just have confidence in yourself. Because confidence in yourself will make sure that nothing anyone else says will bring you down. As long as you believe in yourself and you have that small group of people who know who you truly are, they will help you believe in yourself too. And then with them, you can take over the world. You can do massive things. You can raise money for charity. You can do anything you set your mind to by just having those few people. It could be just two, even one that you would lean on. If you are walking outside as your true self and get harassed and you're upset, people are calling you names because you're being out there in that area for the first time, and you're the first one they saw, well, call that person up. Call that one person. Let them talk to you. Listen to them. Even if they're on the phone with you when you're walking through the area. That way you have confidence in yourself. They're giving you confidence. They're giving you love. So again, have confidence in yourself and love yourself. And everything will be taken care of. And I think that is how we're going to end this lovely segment. We're going to have a few numbers on this evening. So have fun, enjoy. Hope we educate you a little bit. And this is, like I said, this is Translations, Part 1. All right, have a good evening.
So thank you to Timmy for moderating. And we were on there, so. But also thank you, Complete, for participating as well on the panel.
Yeah, thank you all. It was so much fun. I wanted to thank Complete and Timmy, especially for discussing some particular gender dysphoria and euphoria that they have. That takes a lot of courage to talk about specifics like that. So thank you.
I know, remembering that gender is on a spectrum, and we all fall within that spectrum, and some days we could be this way, some days we could be on that, and some days we fall right smack in the middle. But if society would just get a grasp on that, I think a lot of our problems would end. But that is why I am in the third line, in that my drag persona encompasses male and female at the same time. And I use my beard. I don't ever shave my beard. I keep my beard and I work my makeup around it. Sometimes I let my hair grow and do the glitter in there. So I think coming and joining the court was one of the best things I could do for me in feeling happy and comfortable with me and who I was.
And as somebody who wasn't usually were on that, it's always interesting to listen to people discuss their experiences and how gender identity and sexual identity often go hand in hand on figuring out the wholeness of you. And I hear that often, and it's a little weird for me because I had the sort of the opposite experience in my life. I always knew that I was bisexual, which just meant that I liked people that were like me and people that weren't. And I always knew I was two-spirit. So I always knew I was fully male and fully female, just stuck in the same meat suit. So no matter where any of that fell, it's still the Venn diagrams covered all of it. So the part for me that was always sort of a thing, the sexuality was easier. Bisexuality was a known thing, but the idea of two-spirit or what that means under the trans umbrella was something that it took me a long time to like really learn and understand that was really where I fell. And I was in a way very, very lucky because I didn't have to go through a lot of the internal sort of crap that everybody else has had to go through in telling their stories. But on the other side of it, in a really very real way, it took me a lot longer to find my community because I didn't know what the word was. I just knew I fell into all of them. So being able to really be myself openly and have the words to express that without, my biggest fear was always to distract from or take away from the rest of the fluid or trans community, because I don't have physical dysphoria. And I never wanted to be somebody who could be held up as like an excuse or an example of, well, that's all it is. And so that for me was my biggest struggle. But you do get to a point where, like everybody else was saying, it's about practicing that confidence. And you remember in Labyrinth, what does Sarah say to the Goblin King? You have no power over me.
That's right.
And that's it. That's everything. And once you get there, you're going to be okay.
That was great.
So those of you who are still on after this, thank you so much for staying with us. We are having another, hi Dolores, hi Chris. We are having a performance now. The next performance is Complete, who you just saw, Complete Destruction, doing it's simply amazing. We'll discuss it a little bit after we see it. So if you can pop up that video, we would love it. Thank you.
I have been sleeping for 7 months and now I'm awake. I have a hunger deep within me I can't shake. You see it twist and turn, I won't let it take a hold of me. The time to hunt has come, it's time for me to feed. We know what's going down, so I say we do this anyway. We know one of us is going down, so I say we do this anyway. One of us is going down in the darkness beneath the light. Meet on the hunting grounds. Down, down in the shadows become the night. Meet on the hunting grounds. Down, one of us is going down. One of us is going down. Let's do this anyway. Let's do this anyway. One of us is going down. One of us is going down. We do this anyway. On the hunting grounds. I was raised by wolves, taught to fight until the death. Slowly wear you down to your very last breath. I can hear your heart pound. You don't think I'm a threat? Like a predator, sink my teeth into your neck. We know one of us is going down, but I say let's do this anyway. We know one of
That was amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I've
that was some
actually-
third line realness being served right in your face. I love it.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah,
Literally, there was
Yes.
goosebumps.
yeah,
goosebumps.
absolutely.
It was awesome.
Oh, so good. But I love the meaning behind the whole
The duality.
The duality.
Exactly.
How Complete played both parts,
Mhm.
and how it's like a internal feeling of things at the same time is how I kind of felt it.
Mhm.
So
And the amount of work and commitment to make something like that, it's just so incredibly impressive.
Yeah, the fullness of vision to be able to execute that so simply and cleanly was just brilliant. I very
Yeah.
much enjoyed it.
That very easily could have been two different people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in a way, it always kind of
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So we wanted to thank Complete Destruction for that video. It was fabulous as always. And if you want a tip, please do. It goes to Connecticut Trans Advocacy Coalition for Translations 2021 at CT Imperial Court for our Venmo, and for our PayPal is ctimperialcourt.org/donate.
Any amount helps.
Yep.
$1,
Pennies,
$5.
I don't care.
Yeah. Mhm.
$100.
Whatever you can give,
Thank you.
and it goes to charity, and we appreciate every single bit of it. Next, we wanted to let you know it's another panel. This is going to be longer than the last one, but there are more people that are in the panel, and it's very in-depth conversations.
Yeah.
So we just want to let you know it's going to be longer, so just be aware. But it's going to be absolutely amazing what conversations come out of it. So this next panel is. Do you want to say?
Transitioning in the workplace.
Yeah, and let us
Cool.
know in the comments
No,
what
and-
you think.
Yeah, while you're
Yeah.
watching, let us know.
We're watching the comments.
We're watching you respond to everything. Hi to everyone
Yes,
who's
we are.
been on, and we really appreciate it. So if not for anything else, we would like to present our second panel.
Let's do it.
Hello out there in virtual land. My name is Miss Frank, and I have the privilege of facilitating this very important conversation this afternoon about folks transitioning in the workplace and in school. I won't tell you much about me because I'd rather take the time for our guests to introduce themselves. We're very grateful for these folks for having joined us. This panel is part of two significant events called Translations, produced by the third line of the Imperial Sovereign Court of all Connecticut, the first of which will be taking place on Sunday, the 3rd of October. And so we'll start with Elijah, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you very much. I was surprised when when I was invited. And so I'm Elijah Lombardi. I am the secretary of the board for the Connecticut Trans Advocacy Coalition. And I've always been active. And so even before I was like a full-fledged knows what it means activist, I like saying pro-activist because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But I do that. And so since I started in that when I first went to Framingham State, and since then it's been like a rolling stone. Even when I was in the lowest valleys to the peaks of mountains, it's always been quite the journey. And so I realized that I'm trans in January 2017. And one of the best things that has come out of transitioning was realizing that I think I had understood it in different ways, but I consciously understood it after I transitioned, is that the core of who we are doesn't change. And that's important. The core of who we are doesn't change. Our understanding of it does. And so if you understand aspects of yourself, then you can realize that you have other qualities that were buried under like layers. It could be trauma, it could be different priorities that you had before in your life, but you've always been that wonderful. And that's one of the reasons why I'm in the process of becoming a social worker right now. I'm in an Associates of Science in Human Services at Tungstis Community College in Farmington, Connecticut. I live in Hartford, Connecticut. That all started when I met my wife in 2012. But as soon as that happened, everything got better for me. Like I can say this honestly, overnight, everything changed positively. Like before, when I was an undergrad, I could barely do one volunteer obligation. And I did just enough credits to be full-time. Now, this is my second semester taking 15 credits. And I'm volunteering with at least 6 organizations. So with that, you can find like well springs of just joy to go on your journey. And that's one of the reasons why I want to be a social worker. I want to tell that to everyone. I can get into more details later, but I tend to be very verbose.
Well, Elijah, thank you very much. We're so glad to have you. And look forward to hearing more about the wonderful work that you do and a bit more about your story. Ginger?
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Ginger Mulligan. I'm also known as Ginger Snap Clemens. I'm Empress 12 and 21, the Cincinnati chapter of the International Court System. For me, I've known I was trans for probably 30 years. And it was very hard for me to just even come out as gay, let alone come out as trans when I did. You guys are a lot younger than I am. So I just kind of suppressed that and tried to find who I was other ways. And then I discovered drag, or drag kind of discovered me. And it was kind of my outlet. And but I was never in a relationship where I felt like I could reveal to my partner, or later on my husband, that this is who I feel like I am on the inside and who I should be on the outside. And after being together 20 years, I finally told my husband, we're not married anymore. We are divorced, not because of that, but he's been very supportive. So I've only been transitioning since February of 2020. So that's my story.
Ginger, thank you so much. And you are an inspiration. And thank you for saying that I'm maybe much younger than I am. I'm up there, girl. But thank you so much. And I so appreciate you. And we look forward to hearing more about your story and your work in a moment. So welcome, glad to have you. Felton.
I am Felton B. Bender. I am 3-time ICP of the Waterfall Empire, so 23, 25, and 27. I originally came out as trans in 2007 at 17, but the partner that I was with at the time was not supportive, so I went back in the closet for another 4 years, and then everything has accelerated since then. I recently celebrated 6 years on testosterone. I am almost 6 years post-op top surgery, and it's just been gravy ever since then. I mean, I'm not technically out in my work or school environment, but I don't shy away from being so either. It's just easier for me not to deal with the topic most of the time. But on the court side, I am definitely out and proud, loud, and I am a consistent help in my court since we're currently dealing with a lot of situations in this area as far as trans rights go. So I've definitely been one of those sobering minds in that sense. One of those advocates that needs to be vocal and present, because that's going to save the people who can't be.
Right. That's right. Thank you, Felton, so much. And I've forgotten how many times you've been ICP. That's a lot of work. If you are out there and you know nothing about the Imperial Court system, my goodness, Ginger being a monarch twice, and Felton being an ICP 3 times. I mean, it is a considerable amount of work. And so that alone is extremely impressive. But also, I think it's important for folks out there to recognize that these folks that we have on with us today represent so many intersectionalities in our communities, and have done so much work on behalf of others in our communities, and that just needs to be said out there, and we're super grateful for that. So thank you very much, Shelton. So glad to have you. And finally, last but not least, Harper.
Hi, I'm Harper Kelly, aka Harper Celestial Rose of the Imperial Sovereign Court of All Connecticut. I'm a project engineer / project manager at Pratt & Whitney. I have been working there for about 8 years almost. I've had I came out as trans pretty much as soon as I discovered it in February of 2019. I was a big supporter before that, doing pride events for work, all small time stuff until recently. But when I came out as trans, as other people have stated, everything got better. My self-confidence went through the roof. I've learned to stand up for myself a lot more. My bosses have actually helped me with that. We've had some minor issues around the workplace involving me being trans, but between my own self-confidence and my boss's support, we've been able to handle anything that's come up.
Thank you so much, Harper. And
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and I can say without question that I am privileged to have you as a dear friend, and have been present to watch you on this journey. And it's been just so exciting. And you are right, you have blossomed. And so thank you for being here, Harper. So if you are watching out there, we have some amazing folks, Elijah, Ginger, Felton, and Harper. We have folks that are experienced both in the school setting in regard to our topic and the work setting. We have folks who are super involved in the Imperial Court system, Ginger as a 2-time Empress, Felton as a 3-time ICP. Harper is a very active member of the Imperial Sovereign Court of All Connecticut, and our respective workplaces. And so we are everywhere. We are not in one place. We are in every place. We are your neighbor. We are your friends. We are your family. We are your community leaders. And in many ways, we fight for folks in and out of our communities because we know what it feels like to be marginalized, because of very simply how the universe made us. We live our truths every single day, and unapologetically so. And in some ways, perhaps that's the hardest thing to do. So thank you all for being here. Just the first question, and I certainly won't answer it, but I'll open the floor for discussion. In the workplace in particular, Harper, you just mentioned this. If you start your employment with an organization prior to the start of a transition and then continue and maintain your employment, I'm just curious what your experiences may have been, particularly around your place of work. If you're willing to talk a little bit about that. I know it's a broad question, but I know we all have very different stories about that. And so I'll just open the floor.
I personally think I work in a really great place to be a trans person. I'm not even the only trans person there. What's really great is that the policy is on our side, and the management wants to know if anything happens. And because management takes a proactive stance on it, not much does happen. I've had very few issues, and any issues that I've had have been nipped in the bud very quickly.
That's so important. Thank you, Harper. Anyone
Um,
else?
Sure. I've been with my company for 22 years. I literally left work on December 16th as my old self, and I came back a month later as Ginger. I literally went from one to the other. It was just how I needed to process my journey, and what worked for myself. But work has been incredible. The day I walked back in, they made sure my email was changed to my new name, even though they made sure that, everyone was aware while I was out that I would be coming back as Ginger and that I should be accepted as, and not to refer to me by my dead name. So I've been very blessed and very lucky that, especially considering that my work is more blue collar, that everyone's been really open and supportive of my transition. So
That's wonderful. That's so fantastic. And it is the responsibility not just of HR or of a supervisor to support that, but to your point, Ginger, every single employee in the organization, right?
Mhm.
Contribute to ensuring that that folks feel recognized, seen, respected, and that their dignity is intact. And so thank you for that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? I'm just curious.
Yeah, not the current job that I have, because again, I'm not out at my current job, but the job that I had when I was actively going through my name change process was very understanding. I started it after I started the name change process, but before it was legally recognized. They never once used dead name. They always had active names. So I got really lucky in that regard. But then again, it was the healthcare field. It was travel insurance, and we did the healthcare aspect. And so they understood that there's a certain level of decorum and respect that employees need. So there was never any question. And if there was, it was always dealt with on manager or HR perspective. I never had to deal with awkward questions with other employees. And so I got really lucky. And no other job since has ever been a problem.
It's wonderful. And I think we're living in a time where hopefully that can become much more prevalent for all folks in and around our communities. So thank you, Felton. I really appreciate it.
I think Canada has a bit of a leg up on that one because we cannot be dismissed based on LGBT status. Like, it is a legal issue that you are not allowed to dismiss from somebody on those standings. So yeah, I think we have a bit of a leg up on that, but so far I've gotten lucky that I haven't had to deal with that aspect.
If I might chime in, Bostock versus Clayton County, they voted in favor of Amy Stevens, that she was let go wrongfully from the funeral parlor. So technically, because of the Supreme Court, that's also illegal here now.
Good progress.
It looks like we lost Frank, and I am the host now. All right. So I'll pose a question for everybody. If there's one thing you want someone to know about transitioning in the workplace or at school, what would it be?
Ooh. It's important for people who might transition or have the possibility, is that any form is up to you. You don't have to transition like physically or otherwise in ways that you don't want to do. you can do hormones, you can do surgery, you can just transition socially. It is totally up to you. Okay, this is your thing. It's not anybody else's thing. And you're still awesome. You're still trans or gender nonconforming, whatever label or not that you use. You're still you, and no one gets to decide that. No one
that's
gets
important.
to comment on it.
I think that's important because I know a lot of people go through a phase of, am I trans enough? If you think you're trans enough.
You know what? To that point, Harper, I actually, when I came out, it was National Trans Day is when I actually announced it on Facebook and social media. And I actually had people in our own community and the trans community say to me, well, if you don't do this, this, and this, then you're not really doing this. And I'm like, no, everybody's journey is their own journey. And
That's right.
Exactly.
Bravo.
no matter how much you do on the outside, what you are on the inside is what defines you, not how you look on the outside. And that really offended me coming from other transgendered people. And I was so offended by that. And I didn't understand. And, obviously we've all had to go through therapy and things, but I talked to my therapist about it. And I said, I was just so literally offended that someone in our own community, especially the trans community, would say that to somebody else. I just thought it was unbelievable.
Terrible.
I think the problem is
gotten the same thing.
The problem is that, like the gay community, transphobia is not an external issue. It is also an internal issue. And particularly with non-binary, they face a lot of internal transphobia within the trans community. And it shouldn't be that way. If anything, they're under the same umbrella. We need to embrace them just as fully as everybody else. And realistically, it's just about respect. You don't have to understand somebody else's experience. It doesn't matter what their experience is. You just have to respect that it is there and they are who they are.
That's
just
right.
Respect it.
That's right. Yeah.
Being a better human, that people need to learn to be better humans.
In general, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and please forgive me. I had technical difficulties and popped out for a moment. But thank you, Harper, for picking up. I have a feeling a better job than I would, my love.
No problem.
Our many our rainbow diversity, pun intended.
That's right. That's right. Well,
in every way.
Well, I think the discussion that I pop back into is a valuable one. And if you don't mind, all of you, us continuing that a little bit, I think it's important that, to Ginger's point and Felton's point, sometimes the adversity that we face is from within our community. And that in some ways is much more hurtful to Ginger's point than from perhaps a cisgendered person who doesn't understand or has ignorance or is hateful, because this should be your tribe, this should be your family. And so I'm just curious. So in the process, as we get older every day, which is horrible, it makes me want to cry every day. I see more wrinkles on my face. But I'm just curious, in your youth, particularly in school, if you ever experienced a trans or non-binary individual or a person that sort of identified on that spectrum, or heard about someone in your community. I know I have a story that sort of stays with you to this day, and perhaps may have followed you through your own transition and work in school as sort of a beacon, if you will.
I actually didn't. I knew what transgender people were. I did not have anybody in my school who I knew was trans. Whether I did or not, who knows? They could have, they could have been stealth, or they could have not transitioned yet. So, or they could have just been being themselves,
Right.
and didn't really need the label.
And I think that, sorry.
Sorry, no, I actually did go to high school with somebody who identified as non-binary before it was really a coined term. So I graduated in high school in 2008, and so prior to that, there was a friend of mine who had no intention of going through hormone therapy, but did not want to identify as their assigned sex. So they pursued sexual correction for the issues that they had an issue with. But at the time, the only way to do that was out of pocket, because in Canada, you can get certain things covered by the government as far as healthcare goes, but only if you jump through certain hoops. One of those hoops being hormone treatment. They didn't want that, so they paid out of pocket. And I did too, because I didn't want to wait the timeline based on government regulations. So following their process, I mean, I went to the same top surgeon because I knew that that surgeon did a fantastic job and there were no issues. And anybody else that I saw that had the same surgeon never had any issues. It meant paying out of pocket, and I was paying off close to 10 grand for it. But 6 years later, I would not go back and change it for anything. I didn't have to deal with grains. I didn't have to deal with any issues. I didn't have to do corrective surgery. I had a fantastic experience because one non-binary person in my high school used the same surgeon.
One person can make a difference.
Huge. They also signed my name change paperwork. So,
Oh my God.
They're a big feature.
Yeah.
That being said, when I transitioned at Central Connecticut State University. Everything was like already in place, like the amazing work of the 10% Club, and like so many others. Even the preferred name policy there, that had already been in place for at least a few years. And like everywhere can improve, but mine was essentially, by comparison to what I knew, it was a cakewalk. I came out to the surprise of no one. They were all happy for me. No one said anything negative. Came out, I had my gender therapist by May. I changed my name in July. I started on T in November. And just because like others, friends, my wife, they had gone through the same process, and they already knew the people. And just as, I don't know, fortune would have it, I randomly picked a surgeon to do my top surgery, and it turns out he was the best one to do it with. So, and then a friend had gone through bottom surgery, and so I asked that person, and that surgeon was amazing. No complications, nothing. And like they're all amazing. And just after that, it was, but even with all that, it was all amazing. But all the steps, even with a cakewalk, I came out. I had to find a gender therapist, endocrinologist. I had to legally change my name and do all that paperwork. Then I had to change over all my documentation, just everything. And I had to have the letter from my therapist to the endocrinologist so that I could start T. And all this, and then having that same letter be sent to the surgeons to say, okay, this person is trans and wants to do that. And it was covered, but it was still this whole ordeal. And I didn't realize it until years later that even with that cakewalk, it was still a lot. It was a lot. And I'd been in this community for like 2004, 13 years. Because I fell in love with someone in my high school. I won't say their name because I haven't like asked them permission or anything, but but it was like I didn't even know it was an issue at all until I was in college.
Mm.
You do that in the age after the internet starts. I have no idea, but it was like this whole thing, and the more I did so, the more confident I got. And with that, I am totally out. I do not care if anyone finds out about any of my statuses, not the mental health issues that I deal with, not my philosophy on life. You could say not belief system, but like I'm a science proponent, and so I'm secular. In the important matters, I am totally secular. I'm a Satanist in the tradition of the Satanic Temple, which is awesome. And I came out to the administration of my school because they were looking for student scholars to be on the it's a diversity, equity, inclusion team there. You're picked for one academic year, and there's only two that are picked. And so they interviewed me, they picked me and one other guy, and that guy is amazing. Like, he had helped me before. And that was it. I was just like, he told me the next day, and it's like, if it doesn't matter, this is the administration of a community college, and it was just amazing. And the more I came out, I was just like, I have confidence, and I don't care if someone's gonna be negative about it. That's why I'm out completely. I want others to feel safe to come out when they want to.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to feel safe in the full definition of that, like confident, supported, and ready. And no one can tell you when to do that. And that's why I hate outing. I hate when people are outed, because that's not for you to do.
Right.
It's disgustingly rude at best. And depending on where you are, it can still be a danger.
Oh, of course it can. And I think it's important to reference that danger can, and in so many places does exist in the workplace and in school.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly for young people. And we know that young kids are coming out younger and younger, and sharing their truth younger and younger. And one has to wonder if the support structures are in place that they are at colleges and universities in elementary schools. I mean, I would venture to say that they're not. In junior high schools, I think when you get into high schools, you have more of sort of those LGBT plus, support groups on campus, and perhaps some faculty or staff that may be allied or part of the community. But it is concerning for those younger folks that really they can't do anything without their parents' permission. They can't start hormone therapy or see a therapist or dress the way they choose or live their life without the permission of their parents. But I'll say my experience, I'm a college professor and a college administrator, and I've experienced tokenism on my campus quite a lot. I'm certainly not the only queer person, but I certainly am the most visible queer person. To Elijah's point, I am fully out, and I am happy to be, but I also know folks on my campus who are not, and who would prefer not to be, that are out in some aspect of their life. And that is completely and totally, to Elijah's fantastic point, their choice, their business. When I have brought concerns to my college administration about tokenism of folks in all sorts of communities, but particularly in ours, I've been met with a level of support, certainly, but also a concern because there's so few folks on my campus that are experienced with this sort of thing. And so we are a liberal arts institution. We attract students of all backgrounds and identities, but in some ways we're very behind in conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right now we are without a diversity, equity, and inclusion office and director. And so there are major challenges that for an educational institution to make, a major step forward, having, every bathroom on campus being gender non-specific, for example, is great. But if an administration changes or there is somehow a major culture shift on that campus, those changes can end immediately. And I think that leads me to my next question for the group. We've just, hopefully we're coming out of this pandemic, but it seems to be ongoing. I don't know what your experiences have been in terms of remote work, but I think that poses a whole other set of challenges for folks. And so does anyone have they want to share around their experiences, not just transitioning, but being themselves in a remote situation where, it's just a completely different interpersonal experience?
I can speak to that a little bit. I work almost entirely from home. It can be a challenge, especially when people don't know you in person. I have a very masculine voice, but people don't see me on video when I'm on conference calls with people at work. So I get a lot of people accidentally misgendering me, just making an assumption about my voice, which I've had to get a little bit of patience with people, and I just correct them and move on very quickly. It's not really an issue unless somebody keeps doing it. As far besides that, it's tough keeping up some of the kind of friendly relationships you make with some of your coworkers. So sometimes you feel like you don't have as many people who have your back. So that's another challenge about working remotely.
Yeah, I can see that. That, it's one thing to have a support structure at work or that friend's office you can always go to, or that person you always eat lunch with where you feel seen. And that, lonely. Yeah, certainly. Anyone else have any thoughts about that? I'm not sure if you've had remote work experiences or not in this pandemic, but I'm just curious if you have anything else to share. Anybody?
I mean, I didn't technically have a remote work situation during the pandemic. I work retail, so it's entirely in person. We had some curbside stuff, but it's entirely in person. I sell shoes. We physically fit everybody.
Yes.
But I did work remotely at a job prior to this one. So before I even started school, like 4 years ago, I was working remotely anyway. And that's in an office, and it's the same thing. I was working call center, I was working phones, I was working emails. So emails are fine because it doesn't matter, it's completely anonymous. But over the phone, especially since I was at that job prior to starting T, and through that whole voice cracking situation in my mid-20s, I got corrected on my birth name all the time because it's a name that well, my birth name is Michael, not my birth name, but my name is Michael, and I got people correcting me to Michelle on the phone because of my voice. Like, no, I know what my name is, thank you, but like in that kind of call center environment, it happens, and unfortunately, you just have to correct and move on. And unfortunately, that's the situation. It's either that or come out to every single person. And that's not feasible. It's not realistic and it shouldn't have to happen.
Yeah. No.
All you should care about is my name and the fact that I am helping you. That's it. So that's kind of why I'm not out at work now. Because it's not relevant. It's not relevant to the job I'm performing. I'm a small dude. I wear kids' shoes. I have a better opinion on your kids' feet than anybody else in that building because I still wear their shoes.
That's right. I love that.
Get over it.
I love that. I love that. It's so great. But I think you make a great point that it's not relevant to my job. I'm providing you a service. And so you doing that, is completely unnecessary. But I think it's important for folks out there, if they're watching, and perhaps if they've done this unknowingly or without thinking, it is also dehumanizing. It is looking at another human being in the face or hearing their voice and telling them that they must be something that they are not, or someone that they are not, because it makes it easier for them.
Yeah. Which is why I tend to try to take on those clients. They're kind of like the people that come into the store and are looking for shoes. They're looking for a particular kind of shoe and they've got a difficult to fit foot.
Mm.
Men with very small feet, women with very large feet. It doesn't matter why they're very large feet. I'm not going to make that judgment call.
Yeah.
Because I've been there. I get it. Regardless of my experience, regardless of your experience, I get it. So I'm going to be a little bit more sensitive than some of my coworkers who've been working in shoes for like 30, 40 years because they didn't have to deal with it. They don't know that a woman wearing a size 11 foot might not be, it's probably genetic, but whether it's because all of her family has big feet or because she personally has large feet is completely irrelevant.
That's right.
It's just a matter of fitting the foot and finding the best possible shoe for her foot.
Right. And I bring it back to something that Ginger said earlier, that just be a good human being. Just be kind, be good to people, look each other in the eyes and say, we all have eyes to see, we all have ears to hear and a mouth to speak, a heart in our chest and a soul in our belly. And that should be enough. That should be enough. I'm just curious if anyone else has any thoughts about remote work or what their experience has been in this regard in remote settings.
I actually thought of like 2 points when Felton was speaking. The first is, this is one of the reasons why in every class that I take, online, Elron, like the live remote online learning, where you have a sit down time. Online is just like Blackboard and discussions and things like that, and you don't see each other face to face. I come out, period. I don't. If a person wants to ask me a question, even if it's like the rudest way, just ask. I will be able to take it. I'll be able to say, okay, this is a better way of asking the question, and here's what you're looking for. If I know the answer, of course, or aware of some answers. I don't have them all, and so then everyone can actually see. Look, here's a person. And then, because I love doing that, because it shows that like you can meet them anywhere, like anywhere. It's why I wear rainbow lanyard, why I wear like T-shirts that have like rainbow or like something else like that has like some sort of message, or wearing purple or something else like that, and to let people know this is what we look like. The other point was, what was it?
All the time, Elijah. Happens to me all the time. I walk into the kitchen if I am there. I don't know.
To that point, though, I take the opposite route. I'm completely self everywhere. I am relatively straight cis passing, and not in the court. I will say everything gets heightened there, but in normal life, I'm very straight cis passing, which I use to my advantage when trans issues come up. And I pull the knowledge and I say, oh yeah, and by the way, guess what? You wouldn't have ever guessed, but it's here. So I can see why you would be out and proud and loud about it. I can do the same thing without doing that. So that's where I choose to play my power play.
And I think it's important.
Points are valid.
I think it just shows that we're all different.
Exactly.
Yeah, we each have our own methods.
Yeah.
And to that point, I think it gets back to Elijah's earlier point that everyone goes through a process of discovering themselves in this life differently. And everyone has the right to do it on their timeline, the way they choose. And I think this exact conversation and what Felton and Elijah just shared, you know, you cannot lump us all into one group and say, they all do this way. It doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, some of the systems that may support us in the journey ask us to do that. And so that's a problem, both in work and in school, in healthcare, and I know that there will be another panel in that regard, but I appreciate you both making that point because I think it's very important. Yeah.
I remember what the second thing is. I'm by no means like a trained professional yet. I'm still only an associate's degree, so I'm not credentialed or anything. I just want to put that out there first. But like the more I learn about what trauma does to a person, individually to collectively, trauma can have a real actual impact. Like probably the most extreme example is like PTSD. Your brain chemistry literally changes. And I've dealt with that. I won't go into details, but all these things that happen, like misgendering or saying something isn't so, or having all these putting out there like negative experiences like onto other people, to me it seems like trauma responses, if I might say that. They really seem like trauma responses, which is why I can honestly say that I have total compassion even for like the people that do the worst things, like even the people that say for why like the Trans Day of Remembrance is in existence, like what they do. I've total compassion for that. And it's like, because we don't know where anyone comes from. All you can do is like be there for someone. And if you clash, okay. Just respect others. I know I can't expect that from everyone, but it's not about you. If you have trauma so deep that you have to externalize it, and granted, I'm not a professional, but it seems like that. It's one of the reasons why I want to be a social worker. My main group is the main like group of people I would like to work with are those that have experienced trauma, because I've been through that. And I don't want anyone to have to suffer with that, because people are awesome. It's just that awesomeness might be buried under just like layers and layers and even like mountain ranges of trauma, and dig that out. So because people are awesome, they really are. I mean, even people with whom I disagree, they've respected me because it's there. That awesomeness is still there. It's just buried.
Well, I think
so that's my take on it. I don't know if this has even a kernel of like actual truth and like truth above all. is what I say. That's like a cornerstone for me is truth above all. And so, yeah, I want to show people that they are awesome and perhaps like give them tools to draw that awesomeness out of themselves. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Elijah. And that leads us to kind of our next question. You know, we've all expressed that we have very different relationships with our work and school places that we inhabit and that we spend time at. Some of us are you know, out to everyone we meet, and some of us recognize that that's not relevant to our job and express who we are in other ways. And so I'm just curious what y'all's experience may have been around becoming the expert in the workplace or the school place, and having folks in mass approaching you, asking you questions about your identity and about the community and about history and process and what that may have been like for you all. So I'm just curious if you have any thoughts about that or experiences you'd like to share.
I think for me it's really simple. It gets old fast.
Yes.
Yes, it gets old being asked and having to explain the same things over and over again. I have actually in the past asked somebody to just wait for the company event that was happening during Pride Month at one point, because I was getting a lot of questions during Pride Month, which is understandable, but again, it gets old.
Yeah. Anyone else have any experiences?
I struggle with being the expert and not being out. So
Yeah.
people will still ask me questions because they know that I hang out with a lot of drag queens. They know that I am gay, but they don't know that I'm trans. So I'm still the expert on LGBT stuff, but they don't know how closely some of the questions hit.
Wow.
So I'm like dancing that weird line of answering the questions, and I think my thing is just ask and respect that sometimes the answer is going to be, I'm not going to answer that question.
Sometimes it's hard to say that I don't want to answer that question.
It is hard, but sometimes it has to be the answer.
Yep. For your own safety, for your own comfort.
Or just because it's a really inappropriate question.
Or, yeah.
Even if they're a good friend.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. And it looks like I'm host again.
That's okay. Technology, right?
Yeah.
Can't live with it, can't live without it.
Yeah.
Did anyone have anything else about that?
Well, I mean, it's for me, I have like a lot of little things that I like acting on. Like when I'm a lifelong learner. So if someone asks me a question, you know you've really learned something when you can explain it to somebody else and have them understand. And so for me, it's not, I've come to a point where it's not annoying anymore. It's just, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and there's like what, over 300 million in the United States. And so if someone's going to ask a question, okay, I can answer it and just look at it not from the point of view of, oh, here's another question. This is for me. You have to find what works for you. Oh, here's another chance for me to hone my skills, you know?
Yeah.
And so I approach it as even if a person like asks a question over and over, then I take it in that moment, because I don't know, like maybe their memory is bad, or maybe they experience a trauma or something, and so they need to keep asking the question or something. And so
there does come a point when you need to take care of yourself though too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
that there are moments where I would love to answer that question. Here's my email, just email me. And because I like have to run or I have to do something else.
Yeah.
And like I learn about other things. I love learning, and not just about like a single subject or a single group of subjects. And so because I love to read, that's one of my main relaxation techniques is like reading.
Great.
And so with I hate it when the train leaves the station.
All right.
It sometimes happens, but I try to put a at least a neutral spin on something. And so that's why technically I'm making that my life, because if I can explain something to somebody else, then I know that I understand it. And if you have like even the smallest amount of understanding, as in I was nicknamed Badger by one of my professors in my earlier undergrad days. And I dig deep. I can go after those elusive critters, or I can indirectly help someone by digging, because like badgers, they actually help foxes, because the badger digs and then whatever it is runs out and the fox is right there at the end. And so even in my toil, I'm helping somebody else, and I don't care who it is. Okay.
All right.
You give praise where praise is due. Like even if you have a checkered past, I mean, you improve one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. Like I learned that through sobriety, and so you have to take it how you're able to take it. And so if you can put a positive spin on it, if you can if you need like a toolbox to deal with that, and so you take it each situation at a time and not be overwhelmed by all that. And that's why I put myself out there, because I love sharing knowledge and stories. Badger is also keeper of stories by some legend. And so
Not everyone can
I
do
love
that.
doing that, but that's me. You have to find what works for you.
Right. So believe it or not, my friends, we are almost 45 minutes in.
Right.
Wow.
And I apologize that I've continued to have technical difficulties, but
No.
I am not,
That's all right. I took care of it.
I know, but I just want to make sure that people understand that, you know, this event, Translations, that's hosted by our Third Line in the Imperial Sovereign Court of All Connecticut, is so important. And during this reign, you have two opportunities to tune in, and you're watching one right now, and we're so very grateful for all of these folks spending time with us and talking about their experience. I just want to give, and perhaps we can start with Ginger this time if she doesn't mind, but just sort of, you know, what is it that, if you had a message that you wanted to share to folks in general about, you know, how to support someone in work or school in their process of becoming their true person and their true identity, whatever that may be, whether it be outwardly or inwardly or what have you, what would you share with them? What advice would you?
I'm going to go back to what my therapist said to me, and it was the very first session, and I shared it with you guys earlier, is that everyone's journey is their own journey. It doesn't matter how you present yourself outwardly. It's how you feel on the inside, that is who you are. And everyone has to take their journey in their own way and in their own time. There's no right and there's no wrong. And all you can do is just try to love yourself, and everybody else love each other.
Thank you so much, Ginger. And I want to make sure that everybody out there understands the amazing work that Ginger does as part of the Imperial Court as well, not just being Empress twice. But Ginger, I first met you at an out-of-town event in Connecticut, and you are one of the folks that really sets the standard for folks who reign in this system. We're so grateful for all the work that you do, and for being so open with the community at large, with your experience in transitioning. It's been wonderful to watch you bloom again, and to become your true and identity. And I think it's important that people who are visible, who can do that, do that.
I would like to say thank you to Harper, because Harper and I, obviously we knew each other through, through the court. But Harper was a year ahead of me in coming out. And so I was watching Harper's story, struggling, to do this and to come out. And so I just want to say, Harper, thank you. You were a major inspiration to me.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm like emotional.
Oh, see, but
oh
wow. There's another example of what we're talking about, that we never know through the telling of our own story how we can support somebody else in the telling of their own. For sure. And since we're on Harper right now, and what Harper does to all of us, we love you, Harper.
I would say, as far as supporting somebody who's going through their process, be there for them, listen. Those are the most important things you can do, honestly. And if that's all you can do that.
I love that. That's so simple. If that's all you can do that.
Yeah.
Unquote Harper.
All right.
I love that. Thank you so much, Harper. And
thank you. And thank you, Ginger.
Thank you.
Connections made near and far on Translations, everybody. Wonderful family, friends, and the like. That we are a family in the Imperial Court system, and in many different ways. And so, Felton, same question. I'm just curious if you have a thought about, what your advice would be to someone.
I think my advice to somebody who's living the experience: keep going. It gets better. It gets worse first, but it does get better. And to anybody who's on the outside, fundamentally, it's all about respect. You don't have to understand. Try to if you can, but you don't have to. That is not a requirement. We don't care. Just respect. We're still human.
Yes, I love all these quotes. I have to save them all in my head. We are still human. Unquote. Felton, I love that.
I have a page. I'll share it.
Please do. Please do. Oh my gosh. And finally, last but not least, Elijah, what's your advice?
Mine is you have to realize that despite all the divisions on this planet, we are still much more alike than we are different. And so if you can find that place to bring that out and just be there for someone, and even just anyone, especially for the vulnerable, which includes those who are transitioning, but it can be any group, is to find that common humanity and be there for them, is essentially like draw out that potential for friendship, for understanding, because it's I'll use that term, like a divine reciprocity. That joyful reciprocity with like another human being, and you will both benefit. I could be saying it to either one. And you will find joy, you'd find strength there. A knowledgeable captain of your sailboat in any storm. So it's like, just draw that out, because at the end of the day, you're still both human, and you can still connect on that level, even if it's like buried under layers of trauma or misunderstanding.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And you know, there's a teaching that the late Dr. Maya Angelou used quite a lot in both her university teaching and her public speaking, in her written work. And it's a quote from the Roman playwright and philosopher Terence, and it goes, "Homo sum humani nihila millennium puto." I am a human being. No one human is alien to me. And I think that is what we are all getting at here. And we are, again, we end the way we start. We are your neighbors, your friends, your family. We are your students and your teachers. We are your clergy and your law enforcement. We are your small business owners and big business owners. We are your healthcare professionals. We are your retail workers and food service workers. We are everyone in between. We are there, and we are waiting for you to promote conversation and to help us broaden the conversation about this and many other issues that are focused on this community. So I just want to thank, of course, thank you so much to Harper and to Felton and to Ginger and to Elijah for their time and for what you do for your communities every day by being yourself, spreading the message. Lots of love to all of you and to you and yours. Stay safe out there. And connected, and without anything else to say, I'll just do this.
All right.
So,
was-
Harper, go ahead. You were in it, so what were your thoughts rewatching it?
I thought it was amazing. I thought we covered a whole lot of stuff, and I think I started getting a little emotional towards the end there. Thank you again for doing that to me.
And thank you, Miss Frank, for moderating that. Even though coming in and out, technical difficulties, you did an amazing job, and we appreciate it.
Yes.
Also, I learned just from Elijah talking about CCSU just how much of a legacy someone leaves behind, because I was actually one of the people in the 1 in 10 committee or as the 10% committee for gaining LGBT rights and everything that was going on. So it's just interesting to hear how it progresses, from 10, 15 years ago when we started it to now.
Mm-hmm. So I had one thing that stuck out to me, which I thought was really interesting, hearing everybody's stories about how they present at work and in their private lives, and how much that has to do with personality, and how they temper that with being an example and an educator, which is just the point of this, everything that we do and are to make the world better. But there was something that I run into often as somebody who I pass very easily. And there's the term passing privilege, which is not privilege at all. The term, then that passing side of it, just to stay aware as well of how dangerous it is to be passing. Because when you clearly look like you must, or sound like you must be trans or something, that brings a lot of its own dangers. But when you look like you're not, and then somebody finds out you are, that's why we have the panic defense for people slaughtering trans women on dates, okay? This is a dangerous thing. So there's always something there that we need to mind the gap on. And I think it's something that we need to continue to support each other and be aware of that side of the struggle, that it never really ends, it never really goes away. It's a part of who we are, and we can make it better for each other, but there's so much there to support. And so if you just approach everybody as, and every minute of the day is they're probably going through some crap I don't know about, it's probably true, and with kindness and respect, and support, we can all get through this happier and healthier and better. And I just think that's an important thing to point out.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said.
And Aiden, did you have anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Miss Frank. You did an awesome job moderating despite technical difficulties. Thank you, Harper, for jumping right in there. You know, that was an awesome. The panelists, oh, such awesome words of wisdom. Really on point here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we are at towards the end now with our last performance. So what I want to say is we have you've heard that we have another one coming up November 27th, 4 to 6 p.m. to Saturday. The topics will be HIV in the community and people of color in the community and underrepresentation. And then kind of touching on that subject now, we actually have Felton B. Bender with a performance. So we will bring that up and then we'll come back and say our goodbyes.
All right.
All right. Thank you. And
Thank you.
We'll see you in a little bit.
Undetectable is untransmittable.
I want to break free. I want to break free. I want to break free from your lies. You're so self-satisfied. I don't need you. I've got to break free. God knows I want to break free. I've fallen in love. I've fallen in love for the first time, and this time I know it's for real. I've fallen in love. Yeah. God knows I've fallen in love. It's strange, but it's true. Yeah, I can't get over the way you love me like you do. But I have to be sure when I walk out that door. Oh, how I want to be free, yeah. Oh, how I want to be free. Oh, how I want to break free. But life still goes on. I can't get used to living without you by my side. I don't want to live alone. Hey, God knows, got to make it on my own. So baby, can't you see? I've got to break free. I've got to break free. I want to break free. Yeah. I want to break free.
Yes. What a
That was
performer.
awesome. Great dancer.
Wow.
Moves so easily. And such a meaningful song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you watching after the live performance on our YouTube or on our Facebook, thank you for watching. If you wish to donate, even after right now or
Yes.
later on, just go to Venmo to our Venmo at CT Imperial Court or to our PayPal ctimperialcourt.org/donate. And then just in the comments, just put translations part 1. That way they know what to put it under for banking purposes, all that fun stuff. And I want to thank all of the third line that is here helping to put this on. Amber, Harper, Aiden, thank you. And to Adam, as you can see, thank you for
Thanks, Adam.
this. We really appreciate it. And don't forget, I love you too, Becky. And don't forget to watch November 27th. It is the Saturday after American Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And from 4 to 6, we'll be here. Probably the 3 of us here.
Yep.
Here.
Probably the courthouse.
The courthouse, we call it. Yep.
Yet again.
And we hope to see you then. We hope to get you thinking, get you educated, but get you entertained as well.
Yeah.
And with that,
Reach out with anything else that you have to say about this, your thoughts and introspection. I'm sure I saw a bunch of things popping up about when we were talking about a lot of these issues.
Yes.
The more we talk about it, the better off we're all going to be. So by all means, that's the reason that we do these kinds of mediated talks with performances, is so that we can engender these conversations. So keep them going. Talk to us online. Come to an event. Talk to us over a beer at Shea. It'll be all good.
Yep. And we hope to see you in the future. If anyone else has anything to say, Aiden, Harper.
We're all good. Thank you.
Thank
you all.
Thank you.
We appreciate
See you in
all
November.
watching. We love you all.
Love you all.
Take care and
Y'all, see you in
enjoy the
November.
rest of your day.